live streams. Hey! So, I'm going to pull up my notes. I feel very disorganized, but I'm actually not. I've just got a lot of things to set up in the very beginning, but then afterwards we're like getting right into it. So I would love it if those of you who are on, if you would chat amongst yourselves, ask any kinds of questions, pop your thoughts in the comments, anything that resonates with you, anything that, feels good, doesn't feel good. At the end of the webinar, I will open up a Q&A, and let's jump right in. Hey, Gavs. So my name is Lacey Barrett. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a birth photographer, a doula, and a videographer. And over the years of running my business, I have learned that a lot of things. I have learned that women are overworked and underpaid, and not necessarily just women, but in general. And what I mean by that is that women are deemed to be naturally nurturing. And we all know that this is total and utter complete bullshit. And so why is it that women who are in this nurturing role of mother, parent, teacher, midwife, doula, birth worker, child care, all of these roles are what women are supposed to do. And so because we naturally do it, and when I say naturally, I don't mean naturally good at. I mean we're naturally drawn to doing those things. And we're not. Some of us are, some of us aren't, but it's not because we're a woman, right? It's because we just like doing those things. I can tell you right now, I have no desire to pick my child up and change their shitty nappy. It's something that I have to physically and mentally prepare myself for. And so, when we start getting into these roles of nurturer, then we're supposed to do that. So why do I want to give you money for something that you're supposed to do anyway, regardless? Because guess what? If I don't give you money, it's still got to be done, right? And that is a very common misconception. So whenever you find women who want to make money off of the things that they love, it's very socially acceptable for, and this is one of the secrets that I'm talking about that nobody tells you about business, is that women are not, it's not socially acceptable for women to make money, to want to make money. And if you are making money, 9 times out of 10, there's probably a man standing behind you helping you make that money. And it's total bullshit. So when we start our businesses, anything that we do, it's like, oh, you're a hobbyist. Because first, you're a mom. First, you're a teacher. First, you are, whatever it is that you do. And so anything that we do outside of that identity is a hobby. And that's not fair. And so I'm telling you this because when you go into business, yeah, Hannah, when you go into business, there is this stigma, especially attached around women, especially if you're doing something that you love, and especially if you want to make money doing it. And that is mum-tog. Yeah, mum-tog. Fucking hate it. I hate that term. Mumpreneur. I like the idea behind it. Some people will find that incredibly empowering. I personally don't, because I've been identified as mum for so long. Why can't I just be a fucking entrepreneur? I don't see dadpreneurs. I don't hear that coined as a term. So why do I have to be constantly identified as a mother through my sexuality, through my physical genitalia? Fuck that. Sorry, I'm going to swear a lot. I'm so pumped up right now. It's not even funny. And so one of the secrets that nobody tells you about in business is that you're a woman, you have to work double hard, and I'm here to tell you that you don't. You don't. You don't have to work double hard. You don't have to put in double hours. You don't have to put in, double the amount of money that a man would into their startup. You don't have to do any of that. The only thing that you need to do, which is the secret number 2, is be yourself. Be whoever the fuck you want to be. And if it feels good, if it is in alignment with the things that it is that you want to do, rock on. Because nobody is going to do you but you. And if you're waiting for permission for somebody to come along and say, okay, you can do what you really love to do now, it's never going to happen. Yeah, I'm really excited too, Kristen. It's never going to happen. So we are in this haze of being socially acceptable, abiding by gender roles, doing what everybody else wants us to do. All panelists and attendees. I see more. Allow attendees to chat with, hold on, sorry. All panelists. No, you should be able to see everyone's, Hannah. Okay, sorry. Where was I at? So, yeah, if we're waiting for permission, it's never going to happen. It's never going to come, because the truth is that everybody is about themselves. And that's not a bad thing. That's not selfish. That's not, because if you're not for you, who else is going to be? Sure, we might have a supportive partner, or supportive girlfriend, or supportive mom, and that's really, really good, because we need that support. Keep them around. But we don't need validation to do the things that we want to do. We don't have to abide by, the gender roles, the societal norms, the overall, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it, but I just know that if you're waiting, you're going to be waiting for a long time. It's kind of like, when's the right time to have a baby? Well, after I buy a house, after I get a better job, after I'm making $100,000 a year, and it's always after. Like, it's never now. Nobody ever says now is the time. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know if it's projection. I don't know if it's, who knows? But the truth is that there's always a better time to do something. And some of you might know my story, but I'm going to tell it again because I think it's a really good story. And my husband and I kept chatting about, from the day that I started my business, I always said, I would love it if you were a stay-at-dad home. A dad. What did I just say? A stay-at-home dad. And because he was a truck driver, he was working, 10, 15, 16 hours a day. And we didn't see him before he went to work, because he was up at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, gone before any of us ever even woke up. And he was home after the kids were already in bed. And that was really breaking my heart. And by the time he got home, he was exhausted, I was exhausted. We just weren't, communicating. And so one of the dreams for me and for him was for him to be a stay-at-home dad. And every time I would bring it up, when you start making more money, when you're more stable, when you have more clients, there was always, a reason as to why we couldn't do it, not why we can do it. And I, in one of the lead up, I'll get to that in a second. And so finally, one day, we had just had our fifth baby. Hey, Joe. We had just had our fifth baby, and I was not in the right mindset, headspace to be parenting by any means. And the conversation came up again. There was a series of events that happened, and I kind of had a mental breakdown. I don't know if I'm ready to own that or not yet, but that's basically what it was I don't know if it was a mini mental breakdown or a big one. I don't know on a scale of 1 to 10 the severity of it, but I definitely know that was not normal for me. That behavior wasn't normal for me. And I excuse me. And I just said to him, I said, I can't do this anymore. And he basically, I'm getting stuck on my words. Basically, we decided that he was going to quit. And it was a massive risk. It was very scary because I wasn't fully booked. I was 3 days postpartum. I had shit booked. And it put me in a position where I knew next week I had to bring in at least $2,000 for my family to eat. And so if I had waited for that, and guess what? I did it, not because, oh, well, almighty is me, but because when you put yourself in a position where you need to perform, you perform. And that's exactly what happened to me, is I put myself in a position where I knew that I couldn't run, I knew that I couldn't hide, I wasn't going to book another client, next week or whenever I was feeling better, or no, I didn't have that kind of time. I needed money, and I needed it now. And so what I learned from that experience is that money is a resource. People don't tell you this in business. Money is a resource. When I grew up thinking that once money was gone, it was gone. That's it. I didn't understand that you could make more money. And so you get this scarcity mindset that is embedded in you from birth, from generations, from your mother, from your mother's mother, from your dad's mother, whoever. And so over the years, I didn't realize that money was replenishable. I didn't realize that I had the ability to make money whenever I wanted, whenever I needed. Because if I wanted to go on a holiday, then it was within my power to get that money and go on a holiday. Only I can determine how much money I make. And it's the same thing for you. Only you can determine how much money you make. And so as you begin to work through your business, the secret lies within you. It's all about you. It's all about what your convictions are, what lights your fire enough to share it. It's all about what lights you up. And what I mean is when women are in business, all the comments are coming through. Hey, Joe. Hey, Sarah. When women are in business, they think that they have to do all of the things that everyone else does 10 times harder. They have to work harder. They have to put in more hours. They have to attend more births. They have to, stay up later. I'm guilty of that. I have to stay up later, which I'm trying to teach myself that I don't. But the secret in your business isn't about what kind of gear you have. It isn't about how incredible your work is. It's about the better you are, the better you feel, the better your business is. And it's truth. It's fact. I have seen it over and over and over and over again. And so everybody thinks, if I could get better at taking photos, then I'll be a better photographer. Yes, that's true. Will you be a sustainable photographer? I don't know. I don't know, because I think I was really fucking good at taking pictures, and until I found out who I was, no one knew me. No one gave a shit about my work. And so I want you to really consider this theory that I have. And this is another secret. Secret number 3. The better you are, the better you feel, the better you think, the better thoughts you think, the better energy you're feeling, the more in alignment you are with all of these things, the better your work is. And I've seen it through the students in the e-course, through girls that I've mentored, and what I've seen is the more inner work we do with them, the more we talk about, why do you think like that? The freer they feel to be themselves. And so when you start finding out information like, I like peanut butter ice cream. I don't actually like vanilla. I only like vanilla because everyone says I should. When you start finding out, and that's a really silly example, but I mean, in layman's terms, that, you know, when you start finding out information like that, fucking look out. Because you are now identifying the convictions that you have. You're identifying the things that light you up. You're identifying the things that feed your soul. And the more you are able to do that, and the more you are able to connect with your clients. See, the whole thing about birth photography, you're probably like, what does this have to do with birth photography? It has everything to do with birth photography. The thing is that when we're in a birth space and we're with woman and we are serving her, getting her water in whatever capacity your role as birth photographer, oh, sorry, that was annoying me, allows you to. And it's kind of like, well, when do I take the picture? What am I looking for? What is it that they want? What am I documenting? And so there's this misconception that the better you are with editing and taking pictures, the better your images are. And I disagree. And I disagree because if you don't know when to take that picture, if you're not so interconnected with that woman, if you haven't spent enough time with her, if you haven't talked to her enough, if you don't know what her energy is like, you're not going to know when to take the picture. And you're not going to know when to take the picture because you don't feel it. And so when I walk into a birth space, I send out a questionnaire. And when I send out that questionnaire, I always ask, what's your family like? People love talking about themselves. If you want to know about somebody, just ask them. They'll word vomit their whole life story. And so I always ask them, what is, excuse me, what is your family like? And I ask that because the most important thing comes out first, every single time. And I love this because a very specific story that I remember, a client said to me, our dog is everything. And I was like, yep, cool. And then months went on, and then I finally went to go meet her, had forgotten about her comment about the dog. And then I walked in, and she was like, oh, do you want to meet our firstborn? And I was like, oh, God, you have another this isn't your first baby? Oh my God, I thought this was your first baby. Yes, yes, yes. And she was like, come here, come meet Henry. And she pulls the dog out. And I was like, oh, it's your pup, of course. And so by sitting with her and talking about, the dog and what's the story? How did you get him? How long have you had him? That built trust with her because she knew that I cared enough to ask about her dog. And also, it let me know that is an integral part of this woman's birth story. Because whenever I asked who was going to be present at the birth, Henry, my dog. So, unless you're asking those questions, I would have never known to take a picture, or not take a picture, and this is the difference. I'm not there to document single image. I'm there to document a series of image that makes up a story. And within that story are multiple stories. So what I really like to do is I like to take a series of images throughout the whole birth and then string them together in a storyboard. So I might have 7 different storyboards with 7 different stories on it, from different perspectives, from different people, evoking different feelings. And that's exactly what I was able to do with the dog. I actually took a snippet of her birth story through the dog's perspective. And so that is the secret to birth photography that nobody is telling you. I could have taken a stunning photo of her dog in the birth space, but unless I knew what her thoughts were behind having her dog present, I would have never known to capture that series of images that is her absolute favorite now. And so I want to encourage you to open up your mind that technical skill is not everything. Open up your mind that having the best gear is not the end of the world. And I want you to be in the mindset that starting is a really good fucking place to be. And it's a good place to be because, and I love the first step. I love the first step of anything because it's that leap of faith. It's that believing in the universe that they're going to deliver. It's not having a fucking clue about what the end result is or what is about to happen or where I will end up or if this will fail. If you just do it, there's no time for that. It's kind of like precipitous births. When you have a precipitous birth, there's not enough time for anything to go wrong, right? Because it happens so quickly. There's not enough time for anything to go wrong. That's what I love about the first step, especially if you dive in head first, like I tend to do. There's not enough time for you to think about failure because it's too late. You've already done it. You've already hit publish on that website. You've already clicked buy on that cart. You've already, bought the gear. You've already put out the model call. You've already done all of those things. And it's too late to think about the consequences because it's done. That's why I love the first step. It's the most exhilarating. It's the most exciting. It's the best. I'm going to go through and read through some comments. Brianna, how do you sell yourself to clients? I'm in a small military town and most families are in the mindset about money. Yeah. And most, if not all, aren't willing to pay for anything. I'm becoming discouraged with the never-ending comments of you're too expensive. I don't want to give up. I want to pursue this, but it's hard. Yeah. And this is the frustrating part, especially with birth photography, because like I was saying, we're in that that female role of nurturer. And when we're in that role, it's really hard for people to pay us because they're like, well, why do I want to pay you if you love to do it? If you love to do it, just do it. but the reality is that we have a family to feed. And Danielle, are you on? If you're on, could you just wave? Because I'm about to go on a rant. There is a lot of conflicting emotions between women, entrepreneur, mother, and it really inhibits us to be our best selves, because the mother in us says that we need to nurture everybody, but the entrepreneur in us says that we need to make money, but the wife in us says that we need to be, you get where I'm going with that. And so this is why it's really important to find out, who are you, Brianna? Who are you, Lacey? Who are you, Joe? Who are you, Hannah? Who are you, Kristen? What do you love? And I'm going to answer your question, I promise. For so long, we do this job because we love it, and then people get used to having it cheap, when in reality, $5,000 is cheap. But because we're stuck in this gender societal norm, we don't realize that that's what's happening. We don't realize that, I need to help hubby. All right, see you, Diana. We get stuck in that societal, in that role of woman. And Danielle said this yesterday, and I was like, yes. Danielle Driscoll, I don't know if you know her, but she's an incredible birth photographer. And one of the things that she was saying that just struck me is that it's misogyny. When you are in a role that is not able to adequately or financially provide for your family because you love to do it, because it's expected of you, because I can't afford it, and they're not willing to pay for it, but they're willing to go to a tattooist, or they're willing to go to a builder, or they're willing to go to an obstetrician and pay $10,000. What's the difference? It's misogyny. And so you'll find that women are the ones seeking us out for our services. I've had one dad contact me to hire me for his wife. They hired me as doula, birth photographer, and placenta encapsulator. And when women are searching for something so intimate as what we're giving them, and they're not making a lot of money, or they're not working at all because they're stay-at-home moms, they can't afford. It's like this really vicious cycle. So we don't make enough money, but we can't afford anything either. So we're working our asses off, double of what everyone else is, men, whatever. So we're working, but we still can't afford it. And it puts us in a place of poverty. It puts us in a place of scarcity. It puts us in a place of this misogynistic hold. And it's a vicious cycle. And so you'll find that, hey Jen, you'll find that it is very discouraging. It's a mindset change. And you can't change your client's mindset, your potential client's mindset. You can educate them on your services. You can educate them on your self-worth, of your value, but you can't change their mindset. And here's the thing. There is always someone out there who is willing to pay for it. You have to find it. And that is frustrating to hear, but it's where and this is kind of where the course all comes into play, but you'll find that if you put your prices up and you consistently and adamantly demand what is going to sustain your family, eventually You'll get a fuck ton of no's, but eventually someone is going to say, I'll take it. And when they do, that's all you need. You need one person to believe in you. Lady Gaga's got this thing about 99 people don't believe in you and one person does, and that's all it takes. And it's true. 99 people can tell you no, you're too expensive, and then one person books you at your full rate, and after that you're like, no bitch. I'm worth this. I know that I'm worth this because so-and-so paid it. And then the more consistent you are and the more you demand your worth, and ultimately the more you, and ultimately the more you believe in yourself, because no one's going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. Yeah. So I know that didn't answer your question about how to make them book you, but it's just a little bit of the psychology behind, and that's what I love. I love, that whole mentality of changing what doesn't feel good into something that does. If it's not working for you, change it until it does work. I had someone pay my full price for the first time yesterday without any questions, and the confidence I have is unreal. So true. Yes, that's all you need. One person. And then after that, everybody who comes through and says you're too expensive, you'll be like, okay, sorry. Here's some other photographers in the area that you can go and speak to. My personal recommendation is, and then you'll just keep getting more and more and more. It's all about how there's this alignment that all of us have to be within ourselves. And when something isn't aligned with what it is that we want to achieve, everybody knows it. It's this feeling, it's this, I don't know how to explain it, but you can always tell when someone is off. And and this is why community over competition is so important. Instead of kicking them when they're down, just help them. And it's so important for that community over competition mentality, because everybody deserves to do what they love. Everybody. Are there any questions so far? I'm just scrolling through to make sure I haven't missed anybody. I've got a few more things that I want to talk about. All right, we'll keep going. I just thought I would see if anyone had anything before I went on another rant. So, I don't know if you guys were able to read my emails that I had been sending out this week, but I've been working with a coach, Haley Carr. She's incredible. If you want, you can look her up, hire her, give her all of your money, because she's amazing. And I just wanted to share some of the things that we have personally been working on together. And one of those things is writing your own story. And I kind of talked about this in the email that we sent out, leading up to the webinar. And that story is, we all have a story. We all have a place where we've come from. We all have a story. So for so long, my story was, I'm a mom of 5, my children won't sleep, and I'm not as productive because I'm always tired. And so what happened is I kept telling myself this story internally. I was internalizing this. I'll sleep one day, I'll sleep one day, I'll sleep one day. They're not like this forever. One day they'll sleep, one day they'll get out of my bed, one day we won't be co-sleeping. I love my baby so much. And what that was doing is it was contributing to me not sleeping. And so I kept rewriting this story in my head. And this is why people fail. They fail because they're telling themselves the same shitty story that they have been for years. And all we have to do is change it. So if something's not working for you, then rewrite your story and ask a better question. Why am I not booking any clients? Well, do you really want me to answer that? Do you really want to answer that? Why am I not a good photographer? Why is my calendar not full? Well, if you answer that yourself, or whenever I ask myself this question, the answers I always gave myself was, because you're a shitty photographer. Well, that didn't just help my situation, did it? And so instead of asking better questions, and so Haley says this to me all the time, she'll say, oh, that's great, Lace, but why don't you ask me a better question? And I'm like, oh, yes. And so now I'm constantly, whenever you're thinking to yourself, it's reprogrammed me to think, oh, that's a shitty question. Maybe I should ask a better question so I don't get a shitty answer. So instead of asking, why am I not fully booked out? Why don't we start asking, how can I better help my business stay fully booked? You'll get a way better answer. So when we're stuck in this mentality of telling ourselves the same shitty stories, what are we doing? We're playing out those stories. We're telling ourselves that we're not fully booked. And so we're going to stay not fully booked. We're telling ourselves that we're not good enough photographers. But we're continuing to not be good photographers. Does that make sense? Laura, hey Lacey from Louisiana, can't stay but will definitely be watching later. Amazing, Laura. I'm from New Orleans. Ha, how cool. From my hometown. And whenever I was able to really internalize that and understand what that meant, that let me know that I have the power to change my story and rewrite it whenever I want. So anytime something is not working for me, change your story. Anytime my business isn't working for me, change it. Why can't you change it? Why can't you book more people? What is stopping you from booking more people? Because it's not money. It's not because you're too expensive. People are buying $10,000 Gucci bags every fucking day. Why? Is it this story that we keep telling ourselves that we think we're too expensive because we can't afford ourselves? Does that make us too expensive? Hello? Secrets about birth photography that no one tells you. Your business is about you. The better you feel, the better your business feels. Money is a resource. The only person who can determine how much money you make is you. Technical skill. A photographer who possesses good technical skill is a good photographer. Bullshit. You don't need to be, yes, don't get me wrong, you need to know about technical skill. Absolutely. Absolutely, you need to know about the exposure triangle. You need to know about gear. You need to know about ISO. You need to know about Flash and editing and workflow and Lightroom and brushes and. Yes, you need to know about that. Is it the end-all, be-all, make or break? No, it's not. The more emotionally connected you are to your clients, the better images you take. Fact. Doesn't matter if you have the exposure right. That will come naturally. I found that the more I dove into my clients and the more questions I asked and the more emotionally invested I became in them, the better my images began. Not because I got better at editing or I got better at shooting, because the way I saw things changed. I didn't see certain shots the same anymore. I wasn't looking at a woman on the bed anymore. I was looking at a lioness roaring about to birth her baby. Everything changed. My mentality changed. The emotional vibe of the room changed. And you want to know how to create compelling, emotional, evocative imagery? That's how you do it. Sometimes what you see isn't what's illuminated by light. Let that sink in. Sometimes what you see is not illuminated by light. And so, if there are no more questions, I'd really love to have a Q&A session, anything about birth photography. Logistics are important. I'm not encouraging you to start a business without any foundational knowledge of when to go to a birth or what kind of gear to use. Of course, I will teach you those things. But I think the most important thing is learning that emotional connection within yourself, learning gratitude, learning about the birth space, the physiology of birth, and what makes a successful business. What makes a business successful? Is it pretty pictures? No. It helps. It helps if you can take pretty pictures. But I know plenty of photographers who aren't technically the best photographers who has extremely successful businesses. How do you handle being on call all the time, especially with kids, Amy? So, Amy, my husband stays home. He's a stay-at-home dad. And so he's able to keep my kids whenever I need to go. Whenever I did not have him staying at home, I had like 10 friends that I would just burn through. And eventually one of them would be able to keep my kids. Being on call is very emotionally demanding, physically demanding. It can take a toll on your family. And that's why I have a signature e-course called Exposing Birth Photography. And we go through all of that. We talk about being on call. We talk about work-life balance. We talk about technical skill, editing, workflow, Lightroom, the exposure triangle, all of those things. And so I'm just, there was another, oh, here we go. Is it today? It's today, Hannah. Registration will start after the webinar. I'll send a link out to anyone interested. But, yeah. so good. Um, with being on call, I find that, how do you word it? There's a lot of people who, to make being on call worth it, you have to make your business give back to you as much as you give to your business. It's time for our businesses to start giving back to us the same that we give to it. Sometimes being on call can destroy relationships. It can destroy relationships with your children, with your partner, mother, friends, especially if you're constantly canceling on them. So in Exposing Birth, we talk about work-life balance. Hey, Nikki. We talk about work-life balance. We talk about, we talk about work-life integration. I don't like work-life balance. I call it work-life integration. And it's important that our business is respecting us, because we are the business. So let me rephrase that now that you know that. It's important that we are respecting us. And that is, so in the e-course, we have 12 modules. Actually, we have 14. One of them is a bonus. 13 modules, one of them is a bonus. I feel like that's the only way I could do it, and I miss out on certain things. Yeah, but so many people say that, well, my husband would never stay home, or I'm not in a position, and that's totally fine. Like, you don't have to force your husband to stay home to be able to do what you love. However, my mom always used to tell me there's more than one way to skin a cat. Always more than one way to skin a cat. So you can look at au pairs, you can look at demi-pairs, you can look at nannies, you can look at overnight babysitters. Maybe if it's during the summer, you can find a friend's teenager who would be willing to be on call for you. There's so many different ways that you can approach this, and we go through this in the e-course as well. So there's 12 modules, and I'll just read you through exactly what those modules are. I should have had the website up already, but I didn't. So module 1 is, yeah, see ya, Joe. Good night, all the UK girls. Y'all are amazing, staying up late watching. I try to do it early enough, but I don't always nail it. So module 1 is all about gratitude. I want you guys to get the foundation of gratitude and celebrating every win, not just big wins like someone booked me. I want you to celebrate little wins. For example, you might be struggling with depression, postpartum depression, anxiety. You might be struggling with, anything. And so I want you to celebrate getting out of bed, because sometimes that's a feat. Sometimes that's a win. And we cannot be, we can be grateful, but we can't be grateful for big things if we're not teaching ourselves to be grateful for the little things as well. And when I say grateful, I mean celebrate, gratitude. So that's module 1. Module 2 is all about the physiology of birth. So we are going to go through the physicality of birth, what happens to your body. We go through surgical birth, emergencies, and how to navigate that space. and that is presented to us by Emma Nolan, who is a registered midwife here in Australia. Module 3 is all about gear. So gear, we're talking about DSLRs, mirrorless lenses, what does 1.4 mean, what's ISO, what happens if our shutter's too slow, low lights. We're talking all about those things. Basically, I want you to look at this as me being a doula for your business. So this isn't about me giving you the 12 steps to being a birth photographer. This is me about giving you, here's the infrastructure that you need to be a sustainable business, and I'm going to teach you how to fill in the gaps with you, not me. I want you to create your own legacy. I want you to create your own stir, share your own convictions. That's what this course does. Light is module 4, light. We're talking all about light, the physicalities of light and the non-physicalities of light. We're talking about creating light in low light situations and how to shoot in low light. Module 5 is all about marketing. This is a big one and a good one. Angela Gallo is one of our guest contributors in this module, as well as Erica Kramer, the queen of confidence. She gives you a swift kick up the ass to believe in yourself, how to make money, how to stop getting in your own way, and stop giving a shit about what other people think. So marketing, we're learning about our ideal clients, who they are, how to find them, what is a brand, how do you create that, and how do you put that out there. That's module 5. Module 6 is the perceptions of birth. This is another really big one. We talk all about the emotional foundations with dealing with vicarious trauma, primary trauma, secondary trauma, unpacking our own trauma, big one, and learning how to navigate through other people's trauma and not letting that affect us and not letting that affect our subsequent birth clients. Module 7 is imagery and art, which has a beautiful contribution from Eliana Alon, also known as Eliana Gilbert. She takes us on this beautiful journey throughout Rome and teaches us all about the different mediums of art and how to translate that into imagery. This is a student's favorite modules. The imagery that I have seen coming out of that module blows my mind. Module 8 is working with other birth professionals. So we have an accredited midwife, Ali, who is part of the Australian College of Midwives, the ACM, who has come in and given a contribution on what is expected of birth photographers from a midwife's perspective. So that is module 7. I also give out a template to give to OBs to help get you into theater, which I very rarely have not working. It usually always works. It's not a guarantee to work, but it usually does work. Module 9 is loss and emergencies. So I've actually got a contributor, Libby Maloney, who is a holistic funeral director, and she teaches us all about death literacy, what that means, how to navigate loss in birth, expected or unexpected. She teaches us about being an emotional first responder, what that means. And so when you finish this module, you will feel competent and confident to handle whatever situation happens in a birth space. Module 10 is all about workflow. We go through Lightroom, we go through brushes, we go through importing, exporting, settings, all of those things. So you'll learn how to read a histogram in this module, how to use isolated brush tools. I'll take you through using presets and clean edits, all of that. Module 11 is branding and sales. So we've got a contributor, Kate Atkins, who is owner of Atkins Pro Lab. So she is Kate and Paul Atkins have a family-owned lab that they've been running for like 80 years or something incredible. And Kate is going to teach you all about branding. She is a genius with branding and visual aesthetics, creating something that is unique to you and that is not taking from someone else's brand. So she's going to teach you what is important to you and make it your own and make people want it. Really good one. Module 11 is diversity. So we've got Sheridan Byrne and Chanel Rojas, who from Birth United, who has contributed to this on women of color, not tokenizing, socioeconomics, race, color, LGBTQIA, and inclusivity. This is another really good one. And yes, so that's module 12, and then module 13 is the exit portfolio. So you will be required to submit a 20-image portfolio for assessment, and this will be your certifying criteria. So you'll need to have your insurance and your 20-image portfolio approved, and then you will then receive, once approved, you'll be certified as a birth photographer, which is incredible. And then there's a bonus module on confidence in the at the very end. So what I'm doing is anybody who registers within the first 48 hours, I'm giving away Business from Scratch, which is really cool. So Business from Scratch is an 8-week e-course that is designed to get your business up from nothing to a business in 8 weeks, which is really, really cool. So first 48 hours, after 48 hours, that will be taken down. You get a business calculator, a pricing calculator, you'll get a video script on all, like, so many things. It makes me really excited to think about it, actually. So, yes, are there any questions? Hannah, sorry, I've got to go. Crazy kids. Yeah, of course. Cool. All right. Yes, remember, 3 things no one tells you about being a birth photographer. A birth photographer. The better you feel, the better your business feels. Technical skill is not going to make you a great photographer. Emotional connection, creating that vibe with your reciprocating vulnerability. And money is a resource. Only you determine how much money you make. All right. If there are no more questions, I will send I am all tongue-tied today. I will send out a link for registration if you are interested in continuing your professional development with me, becoming a certified birth photographer through the Birth Photographer program. All right. Thanks, guys, so much. Bye.